Yeah, Radharani, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mati.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, Canto 6, chapter 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके. So the chapter name is King Indra, afflicted by the sinful reaction. Text 1. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, O King Parikshit, who are so charitable disposed when Vitrasara was killed. All the presiding deities and everyone else in the three planetary systems were immediately pleased and free from the trouble. Everyone, that is, except Indra. Text 2. Thereafter, the demigods, the greatly saint person, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Bhutalo, Buloka, and the demons, the followers of the demigods, and also Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the demigods, subordinates to Indra, all returned to their respective homes. While departing, however, no one spoke to Indra. Text 3. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Sukadev Goswami, O great sage, what was the reason of Indra's unhappiness? I wish to hear about this. When he killed Vitrasura, all the demigods were extremely happy. Why then was Indra himself unhappy? Text 4. Sri Sukadev Goswami answered, when all the great sages and demigods were disturbed by the extraordinary power of Vitrasura, they had assembled to ask Indra to kill him. Indra, however, being afraid of killing a Brahmana, declined their request. Text 5. King Indra replied, when I kill Vishwarupa, I received extensive sinful reaction, but I was favored by the woman, land, trees, and water, and therefore I was able to divide the sin among them. But now, if I kill Vitrasara, another Brahmana, how shall I free myself from the sinful reaction? Text 6. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, hearing this, the great sages replied to King Indra, O King of heaven, all good fortune unto you. Do not fear. We shall perform an Ashwamedha sacrifice to release you from any sin you may occur by killing the Brahmana. Text 7. The rishis continued, O King Indra, by performing an Ashwamedha sacrifice and thereby pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, Lord Narayan, the Supreme Controller, one can be relieved even of the sinful reaction for killing the entire world, not to speak of killing the demon like Vitrasura. Text 8 and 9. One who kills a Brahmana, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or the spiritual master can be immediately freed from all the sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan. Other sinful persons, such as dog eaters and chandalas, who are less than sutras, can also be freed in this way. But you are a devotee, and we shall help you by performing the great horse sacrifice. If you please Lord Narayan in that way, why should you be afraid? You will be freed even if you kill the entire universe, including the Brahmanas, not to speak of killing a disturbing demon like Vitrasura. Text 10. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, encouraging by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vitrasura, and when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana Brahmanahatya certainly took shelter of Indra. Text 11. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vitrasura and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vitrasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in this grief. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thanks so much, Radharani Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Chaitanya Prabhu, whenever you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji.
Sure. Devotees, can you see my screen, Prabhu, with the shlokas?
Yes, Prabhu, I can see, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Radharani Mataji, for reading the translations today. Thank you, Sundaram Prabhu, for giving us this opportunity to share something from Srimad Bhagavatam. And thank you to all the Vaishnava devotees who have assembled this morning to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 13, Text 1 to 11. I'll start by offering my prayers. ओमज्ञान्तिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणम्। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, for my own purification and the pleasure of all assembled Vaishnavas, we'll start reading from chapter 13, text 1 to 11. So just to give a brief overview of what's been discussed so far, we saw in the previous chapter the very wonderful battle that ensued between Vitrasur and Indra, and how initially it looked like Indra was being defeated, but Vitrasur, even though being in a demon's body, revealed his true personality of being a devotee, and how he so confidently instructed Indra, and it seemed that he was more confident on the prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead than Indra himself. And he encouraged Indra to keep fighting and assured him that in the end he would be victorious. And how we see the battle goes on, and finally Indra is able to defeat Vritrasu. So this is where the discussion continues from today. So in text 1, Sri Shukdev Goswami then goes on to describe that O King Parikshit, who was so charitably disposed, when Vritrasur, presiding deities, and everyone else in the three planetary systems was immediately pleased and free from trouble, everyone that is except Indra. So, as soon as Vritrasur was killed, all the demigods and all the other personalities from other planetary systems, they were extremely relieved, and they started making preparations to go back home to their abodes, except for one person, and that is Indra. And that's going to be described. Why is that? So oftentimes we see that even in our practical life, there's sometimes difficult situations that sometimes we go to the temple president to complain, and he has to deal with these things and dealing, and everybody is there is a Vaishnav in temple. Sometimes it's difficult to deal with it, and there's some things nobody wants to deal with except the president has to deal with it. This sounds more like the position or the predicament of the temple president to me when I read this. Everybody else was happy, but the person who actually had to do the task was unhappy, like Indra, because he knew he's going to suffer sinful reactions. It is said that when Shukdev Goswami made this point about Indra being unhappy, Maharaj Parikshit, he paused there for a second and he asked Shukdev Goswami that, oh great sage, what is the reason for Indra's unhappiness? I wish to hear about this. When he killed Vitrasur, all the demigods were extremely happy. On one side, you're seeing that so many people, so many wonderful personalities, the Gandharvas, the Kinnaras, all they're so joyous. on the killing of this demon, Vritrasur. How come then Indra himself was unhappy? So the purport to this is wonderful, and I'd recommend devotees to read this purport to text 3 today if you have time. But I'm going to share some of the points that Prabhupada has described. The first thing Prabhupada mentions is this was a very intelligent question that Parikshit Maharaj asks Dev Goswami. This also goes on to describe how attentively Parikshit Maharaj was listening to the Katha. So whenever we go to the temple, whenever we attend programs, and we listen to the Katha, we should also try and assimilate this attitude and this quality of trying to reflect on what is being said and trying to ask questions for everybody's benefit. Because the reason we think about these things and we contemplate on these things is when we realize that how much suffering we are in this world. Um, because only when you have an appetite for something, you are hungry, and somebody brings a nice plate of prasad in front of you, will you be able to honor it properly? But if you're already fully satisfied, you've already eaten something, and then somebody brings prasad in front of you, then you may not be able to appreciate it as much. When we go to listen to Katha, when we meet Vaishnavas, we should understand what predicament we are in. I had heard in a lecture recently, it was described that you do not need a PowerPoint presentation to help somebody who's inside a burning house. When somebody is in a house that is caught on fire, you don't have to open up a presentation, explain to him why he needs to escape the house. Immediately he starts running. Whatever he can grab, he grabs and starts running out of the front door. That's because he understands what situation he is in and he's desperately looking for a way out. So that similar attitude, that similar desire, Parikshit Maharaj was displaying in asking this question, that he knew what kind of misery he and the living entities he's asking on our behalf are going through in this world. And he had this intense desire to be liberated from this. So that is a wonderful quality that we see of him asking questions. The other thing that Srila Prabhupada describes in this purport is, when he killed Vitrasura, all the demigods were happy. But Indra himself was unhappy because Indra also had some realization. Because the other demigods were happy because they saw Vritrasura as a demon based on his birth, based on his bodily features. Um, but that is not how in Shastras we understand that we understand the depths of somebody, of a soul, of somebody's personality, not based on birth, not based on bodily features. Because what Indra realized, that based on his behavior, this certainly was not a demoniac personality. Based on the instructions he received from Vritrasur, the words of encouragement in the battlefield, Indra could clearly understand that this personality is a very great devotee. And to this point, now we understand that when somebody is quiet and they don't speak, we cannot really tell what their intentions are and what their perspective is. But as soon as somebody starts speaking or opening their mouth, it can be clear, what tattva they belong to, or what tattva they practice. For example, Prabhupada used to give this, that when a frog, when a frog starts croaking, all he does is attract snakes. He doesn't do any good. So that's why similarly, when a materialistically inclined person starts to speak, you can understand where he's coming from. And the same, there's another example where we see of Maharaj Jadabharat. When Jadabharat, the whole world, he appeared as a dumb and mute person. But the moment it was required for him to speak, and he speaks in front of Maharaj Rahugana, Maharaj Rahugana immediately realizes that this is not an ordinary personality. He looks dumb and mute. He may look like he's sitting by the side of the road like a beggar, but he's actually a very great Vaishnava. And he surrenders to him and accepts him as his guru. So as soon as Vritrasur started speaking, Indra realized that this is not an ordinary demon. This is a Vaishnava. So I have to be very, very careful in my dealings with him. The third point Srila Prabhupada makes toward the end of the purport, in the last paragraph, he says that a millionaire can have a few $1,000s with him, in his wallet maybe, and some is in a bank, other places. So a millionaire can have few $1,000s, but having a few $1,000s only doesn't make you a millionaire. Point Prabhupada was making that a Brahmana has some qualities, but a Vaishnava has qualities that much supersede the qualities of a Brahmana. So being a Vaishnava or doing an aparad, an offense against a Vaishnava, is much more dangerous than just doing it to a Brahmana. Move on to the next set of shlokas. So in the next set of shlokas now, Sukadeva Goswami is describing what the trouble Indra was going through. That the great sages and demigods, they were disturbed by the extraordinary power of Vritrasur. They assembled to ask Indra to kill him. Indra, however, being afraid of killing a Brahmana, declined the request. And he replied to them that when I killed Vishwarupa, I received many sinful reactions, but still I was able to divide them in the four personalities that we had previously discussed. But now, if I kill Vitrasur, another Brahman, how shall I free myself from the sinful reactions? So now let's take a pause over here and discuss something about sin and aparad. So Indra, he knew that that he has done a sin in the past by killing a Brahmana, Vishwarupa, and now that is why that is what led ultimately to the birth of Vitrasur through the sacrifice by his father Twashtamani. So in this particular scenario, it is to be understood that killing Vritrasur would not just be killing another Brahmana, which would be a sin, but would actually be hurting a Vaishnava, which would become an aparad. Now, when I was researching for this lecture, I came across this nice point which I never thought about before. But what is the difference between a sin and an aparad? So a sin is something that we do mostly based on the rules and injunctions of the Vedas. And if you break a rule, if you eat meat, or if you don't follow a certain thing, then you get some reaction out of it. But there is a way to get out of that reaction by doing a particular atonement, by doing maybe another sacrifice or another puja. You're able to get out of the reactions of that sin. But aparad is an offense that is committed at a completely different level and has another complete different potency. Um, Aparad is something when you do that directly offends the Supreme Personality. It may be aparad to his name, it may be aparad to his dham, it may be aparad to his devotees, Vaishnava aparad. So aparad is something that directly offends the Supreme Lord, but sin is something that goes against the injunction of the Vedas. It is easier to counteract the effects of doing a sin, but it is very difficult and not easy to counter the effects of aparad. And that is why we should be very careful. And that is the reason Indra here is so scared and afraid that, not just have killed a Brahmana, but I can understand that this personality is actually a Vaishnava, he's actually a devotee. So I have great cause of lamentation and concern over here. So in another lecture by His Grace Gauranga Prabhu, I saw the meaning of the word aparad. So the word radha in Sanskrit means um, satisfaction, prosperity, success. And aparad means diminishing satisfaction, diminishing prosperity, diminishing success. Aparad. Um, when we come to devotional service, when we chant our 16 rounds, when we follow four regulative principles, we read in the Shastras that gradually we'll be achieving to the state of, you know, um, of bhava, of having bhakti, of being starting to get indifferent from the reactions of this material world. And we should be advancing gradually and becoming more and more happy, more and more satisfied, more and more experience pleasure in this process of devotional service. But if we do aparad and we diminish this goal, we start reducing our experiences of pleasure, of satisfaction, is because of some of these offenses or aparad that we are committing. It is just like how we suppose somebody is in a house of burn again a house that is on fire and that's burning, and you've understood that it's burning, you understood that's fire in the house, and you kind of run around and you find an escape route and you're almost at the door, But when you're at the door, instead of coming out of the door, out into the open, you look back and you start thinking, oh, maybe I should take this also, maybe I should take that also. So you're stuck because you've reached the doorstep, but you're still not completely out of danger. So similarly, when we enter into devotional practice, when we come into Krishna consciousness, we use our intelligence, our buddhi to analyze a lot of things. We realize that yes, this is the perfect path. This is the path back home, back to Godhead. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, surrendering to himself is the right goal. Following the four regulative principles is the right thing. Chanting your rounds, 16 rounds is the right thing. So even though when we understand all these things and we're just at the cusp of leaving this sort of material tendencies and coming out of this material miserable world, if we do aparad, we will be stuck in that position where even though our intelligence and buddhi understands the right thing, but it has not, that understanding or that realization has not reached into our heart. It has not transformed our heart. So aparad prevents that understanding from going from our intelligence into our heart. Um, that is the art of transformation. That is when we actually realize and we're able to advance in bhakti. So in a lecture by my Guru Maharaj, I was listening to this science of aparad. How do we understand our mentality of doing aparad? And in reference, Guru Maharaj was quoting a pastime just to continue our mood from this wonderful weekend of listening to such nice Gaur Katha. Maharaj was describing in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antalila, chapter 10, text 87 to 100. There's a wonderful pastime described where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after doing ecstatic kirtan for a great number of hours, he's exhausted and he goes into Gambhira to take rest. So when he's taking rest, the way he lies down on that particular day, he's blocking the entrance to a particular room. So this was a daily practice that whenever the Lord used to take rest and be tired from his services and activities, his servant Govinda used to come and massage his feet until the Lord went to sleep. Once the Lord went to sleep, whatever prasadam that the Lord had honored, the remnants of that, Govinda would get to honor that Mahaprasad. So in this particular day when this incident happened, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the Gambhira, he's lying down and he's blocking the door of the room the way he's lying in. We know how tall Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. We've seen the description. Now Govinda comes in and he sees that Lord is lying this and I can't enter the room to massage his feet. So he requests the Lord, can you please move a little bit so I can get in to do my seva? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, I'm very tired today. I did a lot of kirtan. I can't move. So Govinda again requests, no, Mahaprabhu, please, little bit, only little bit. If you can move, I'll get inside and I can do my seva. Mahaprabhu says, again, no, I'm telling you, I'm very tired. Don't disturb me. You do what you want to do or don't do it. But don't disturb me. I'm not going to move. So what Govinda does, but he really wants to serve the Lord, but there's no way to get in because the Lord is lying down like that in particular position. So Govinda, he takes a piece of the Lord's cloth and he puts it and covers a part of the legs and he goes over it, which again is an offense. Like how many of us would like to step over the body of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And, but Govinda, he does it, you know, he does it, he goes across, and once he reaches the other side, he starts massaging Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet. And normally the process, like I mentioned, was he would do it for a few minutes, and then once Mahaprabhu used to go into sleep, Nidra, he used to take the remnants of Mahaprabhu's prasadam. But then this particular time, when about 45 minutes later is described, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wakes up, he sees that Govinda is still massaging his feet. And he becomes angry at Govinda. He said, Govinda, what are you doing? Why did you not take prasad after I went to sleep? You're supposed to do that. Govinda said, but Mahaprabhu, you were sleeping like that and you were blocking. So I did not want to go over you. So Mahaprabhu said, then how did you come in? If you came in, then you should have gone out the same way. Then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes that Govinda at that time kept silent. But he shares, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he shares the thought, what was going on in Govinda's mind. And Govinda said that he was thinking that Mahaprabhu, for your pleasure, for your service, I'm able to take any amount of sinful reactions. And that is why I stepped over and came inside. But for my own pleasure, to go and eat prasadam, I would not commit the same offense again. This for my own pleasure. And this Guru Maharaj was describing that this is the understanding or science of approaching when we considering doing when we consider when we're in a situation where there is something in aparadh or not. If we are doing it for our own satisfaction, then it is an aparadh. But if we are doing it for circumstantially to enable our service, then that may not be counted as an aparadh. In another place, Jiva Goswami describes the 5 effects or 5 consequences of aparadh. So Sri Jiva Goswami lists them as follows: what happens and why we can understand Indra was so fearful of committing this aparadh. The first thing that happens when we consider an aparadh is called kautilya. Jiva Goswami describes that kautilya means this tendency to differentiate, this tendency to think. So normally as devotees, we should see everybody as with a sambhav. We should see the goodness in everybody, the purity in everybody. But kautilya tendency means the tendency to cheat. This is the mind like of a politician, where you see something good in somebody or you say something good to somebody's face, but behind their back you may say something that is in the negative. And when you do that, you're also committing an offense to the Vaishnava. So that is the first symptom when somebody does an aparadh, is you start differentiating. You start seeing somebody as a good devotee, somebody as a bad devotee, and not seeing that at the end of the day they are devotees who are serving the Supreme Personality. And the example given for this is of Vidur. Vidur, he was a wonderful devotee, but he knew that when because of staying in the royal palace and because of staying in the constant association of Duryodhana, because when Vidurji was trying to serve Dhritarashtra, Vidur realized that this Kautilya tendency of Duryodhana, even he was inflicted by it. And this was the reason that Vidur Maharaj, instead of going directly from Hastinapur, he could have easily gone to Dwarka, but he did not do that. He instead decided to atone for this bad association that he had through Duryodhana and go on a pilgrimage. And we see how he met Maitri Muni and how he asked all those wonderful questions. But because of this aparadh tendency that was there in Duryodhana, which he unfortunately was had subjected to. The second symptom that a devotee has when he commits aparadh is ashraddha. So ashraddha means, not having faith, not realizing that something's mentioned in the shastras. When something goes wrong, that happens from a devotee's that there is a higher understanding to it. So sometimes people, when they hear about devotees' lives, they become scared. Garam Prabhu was sharing that once, like he normally when you offer Bhagavad Gita to somebody, some people say no, 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 and they run away. Sometimes you offer chanting mala and they run away faster. Say no, 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 I want to stay away from this. But one time he said, I had a unique experience. I offered give somebody a prasad, and he said, no, 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 I can't take this prasad. And he asked him, and he said, no, I've seen people running from Bhagavad Gita, from Japamala, but I've never seen anybody running from prasad. Like, why are you running from prasad? And he said, no, 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 I've seen what happens. When you take this prasad, I've seen other people. My hairstyle will become like yours. I'm not going to take this prasad. So that is an example of how we see when things happen in devotee's life. Sometimes if we have committed this aparadh and we develop this symptom of ashraddha, then we do not have faith in the scriptures. The right understanding, Guru Prabhu explained in his lecture, is when you meet something that you're not able to comprehend, that you're not able to understand, why did this happen in my life? I'm a devotee, I'm chanting 16 rounds. Why did this happen? The right way to counteract this is to come back to the Shastras, to come back to Guru and Sadhu and inquire from them. And we will naturally find our answers to why certain predicaments are going on in our lives. But if we commit aparadh to Vaishnava, we will be inflicted by this tendency to have Ashraddha. The first was Kautilya, second is Ashraddha. Third thing Jiva Goswami describes is Bhagwan Nishta Chavaka Vastu Antara Abhinnivesh. It's very long term, but what it basically means is absorption in things that erode our own bhakti. And what we see that this was what Bharat Maharaj was inflicted with, that when he got attached to the deer, because of in some offenses in his previous life, he got attached to the deer, it eroded his own bhakti. So getting absorbed in other things is also a symptom of aparadha. The fourth thing is bhakti shaitilya, that is losing focus. So while we are trying to do bhakti, something happens with a devotee, something happens with somebody else, or something happens in the family, and we start losing our focus and giving importance to that instead of realizing that bhakti or Krishna prema is our ultimate goal of life. The last thing that Jiva Goswami mentions is bhaktyadi krupabhi manitvam. It sounds like a very fancy term in Sanskrit, but Sanskrit is such a language that it even makes something negative sound very positive. This thing, bhaktyadi kripabhi manitvam, means pride. So another symptom of a fall down of doing aparadha is having pride in our heart. And the example of this is Daksh Prajapati, of how he, even though being so learned, because of doing an aparadha, he had this pride and he continued to disrespect also. In this particular way, I just wanted to share the symptoms and the consequences of doing aparadha and why Indra Devta was so scared and so afraid of what he just did, that is, hurt a wonderful Vaishnava. In text 6, it goes on to describe that now the other sages, so all the other heavenly planet personalities have left, but the sages who were there, they saw Indra's fear and they were trying to assure him, no, don't worry. We will do Ashwamedha sacrifice and we'll free you from the sin. We'll do other things that we can free you from the sin. Lord Narayan will be pleased by this sacrifice. But Prabhupada describes in the purport to text 8 and 9 that these things where we purposefully devise atonement, that you can do something wrong on the strength of something good, is not the right practice. It is not how it works. It is not what's going to give you fruit. Suppose, for example, if you're driving a car and you're stepping on the gas and you're stepping on the brake at the same time, you're not going to get very far in life. Similarly, in bhakti, if we use or we commit offense, namaprad, by chanting on the basis of by chanting on the committing offenses on the strength of the holy name, we will not be able to relish the holy name, and we will never be able to advance in bhakti practice. This mentality of doing a certain thing by intention and knowing that you'll atone for it, that mentality is not right. That is what Sri Prabhupada described. In the last text 10 and 11, Indra describes or is described by Sukdev Goswami that how Indra, because even though he was opulent and he had such other good qualities like tolerance, because he had killed an Vaishnava, he had done an aparadh, he could not be happy. So an aparadh to a Vaishnava is a very, very great sort of offense, and something we should be very careful to avoid in our lifetime. This is something that I just wanted to share briefly from today's discussion. I'll end the discussion here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.